right, welcome back to another episode with Royce Dunne. So I've got a few questions I wanted to ask you, get a little bit of your mindset from obviously you've just come back from the CrossFit Games, you're in isolation. Which city are you actually in?
I'm in Sydney. So all the US flights come into Sydney.
Yeah.
And that's where pretty much all of us are, like Cara and Baden, in different hotels already. Ellie's on the way back. I think Jay and Maddie are about to fly.
Yes, I saw that Maddie and Jay were at the airport. So how is being in isolation?
This is day 3 now, and I think like this first week is going to be okay. It'll probably get a bit boring and hard to do next week as the time drags on. But surprisingly, like time's passing pretty fast. Like the days are kind of flying by, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. So I actually, when, I don't know, because obviously you were in America, so like 2 weeks ago, I think, Mildura, where I live, so you know where Todd lives, like it's in the middle of nowhere, we had a case here, and then I was at a cafe that same guy was at. So then I was made to stay home for 14 days. And I mean, being at home, it's not that bad because obviously you got everything. And I've got like a full gym like yours out in my shed. So I've got everything you can dream of like out the back. So I was cool, but like because I'm a teacher, trying to teach kids via Zoom was hectic. And they all tried to be super naughty. And I'm like, you guys know I can still see you, right? And I'd be like, all right, that's it. No prac for you tomorrow because I do PE. And they were just like, it's like you're still here, miss. But I actually didn't mind.
Awesome.
I didn't mind isolation, but like I actually quite enjoyed it because it gave me time to like work on the channel and like just actually haven't stopped since this whole COVID thing. I've not had one time off. So it's probably a good opportunity for you coming back from being so busy as well. Like, do you feel that you're getting just like this little bit of reprieve and relaxation before you go back to normality?
Yeah, definitely. I think the isolation isn't a problem per se. Like we've been through a couple of lockdowns up in Brisbane, so as other major cities. And like you say, I don't mind. I don't mind like not going anywhere. Like I'm a bit of a homebody normally anyway, and you can train from home and hang out with the family and whatever. It's pretty sweet. The hard part about this is mostly just like you're living out of a suitcase still. So I've been like on the road essentially. Even in America, I was fortunate enough to stay with Rich and Hillary, and like they make me feel like part of the family. And obviously, like it's a really nice accommodation being in a real house and stuff. But you're still kind of living out of your suitcase. It's not like everything that you're used to at home. And so here, it's like similar kind of thing of like got a fridge, got a microwave, but like you don't have the pantry you used to. You can't like snack whenever you want to. Like you can't like the TV doesn't have like all the channels that I would have at home. So I'm on the laptop for most things like Disney and Netflix and whatever. But it just feels like a little bit like this is temporary. Like I don't want to unpack completely because they have to repack it. But it's still 2 weeks, so I kind of have to still like half unpack everything. And it's a weird feeling going to bed and not like setting an alarm for anything because when you wake up you can't leave the room, can't do anything. There's nowhere to be, nowhere to go. So it's just a weird little in between existence, I guess. And it is a good time to decompress for sure. Like I'm doing some working out in the hotel room just to stay sane and just almost as a bit of a pastime, like another thing, just to blow an hour, for example. But I'm obviously like not training very hard at all, not even timing the workouts, and just giving the body a rest. It would just be nice better to see the family, obviously. But the other thing too is that like it's the stages. So being back on home soil brought like a lot of relief and just like, okay, the trip's nearly over. Like I'm here now, and being on the same time zone means I can just pick up the phone and FaceTime the family whenever. Whereas back in the States, it was really hard to catch them at the right time. And plus I was really busy. I was, training and preparing for the games, whatever the schedule. Whereas now it's like, hey, anytime I want to just chat, I'll just pick up the phone and FaceTime them, and Laurie will just, point the camera towards the kids who are there in the house. So it's not as bad as I guess you would imagine.
Yeah. So what is the whole process of like coming back into Australia? Like, so I heard that you have to get a test before you leave America or something, and it has to be a certain kind of test. It can't be the antigen test. And then how does it work when you get back into Australia? Like what is that whole process?
Yeah, so to do any international flight at the moment, you have to produce a PCR test. that within 3 days of your departure. So if you're flying on Friday, for example, and you got the test on Tuesday, it wouldn't count. So got that done in Madison. They told us that it would take 3 to 5 days to come back. So we're like, okay, look, that's a bit of a stitch up because we need the test to be 3 days max. But the earliest it'll come back is 3 days. So we went and got another one in Cookville that like has a 2-hour turnaround. And you're supposed to pay for it, but somehow we didn't have to pay for it. Luckily, something covered it. I ended up getting both test results back in time anyway. So at the airport, just produce that when you're checking in for your flight. They ask you your passport, want to see your test. Okay, booked you all in, good to go. When I arrived in Sydney, it's eerie because on an international flight, there was literally 24 of us.
Wow.
So like this plane is empty. Yeah, this plane is empty. I was in,
You get to sit
I don't even know if it was like being in, it was awesome. Like as far as flying goes, when I flew over to the States, same thing. There was maybe 30 or 40 people on the plane, and it was like the whole radio stuff. It was great. And I don't even know if I did this on purpose. Like I booked the flight so long ago, I can't even remember now if I did book it as premium economy or if they just upgraded me. But I was in premium economy, which is, I didn't think it was much of a upgrade, but it's a pretty decent chair that like has a little footrest and lays back pretty well, and like so it was pretty sweet. So the flight was actually, compared to normal, great, and it went by really quickly. And then you get off, and at the gate, like they all all the Queensland Health, New South Wales Health and police and stuff kind of intercept you, and like they get you a process, or put your little health declaration in, and they check you off. You go through normal customs, get luggage, go through normal customs and security stuff, and then they got the Australian Defence Force helping out. So you head down to like these buses, and they have everyone like sorted to their hotel ahead of time, like they know that you're coming in and whatever. So you basically get assigned to the bus that's going to your hotel. The ADF guys like basically just help out, they load your luggage for you and stuff. So it's pretty cool. And then they just drive you in here, and there's a bit of a process at the hotel. They've got like different levels set up. Like you check in, and you go to like level 3, where the police will like log all the details of your quarantine, what day you're coming, what time, and they figure out what time you can leave. And then you get escorted to the room, which you don't get a room key for because you're not allowed to leave. So you don't need a room key. And you just, that's it. You're in and you're away. So I just had, this is so the day you arrive, they call it day 0. So then 24 hours later is day 1 and so forth. So you leave the hotel on day 14. And so this was day 2, the third 24-hour period. And so I got the first COVID test. I just did a PCR test before, maybe half an hour ago. And then I get another test on day 7, and again on day 12, and then one more when you actually leave. And you don't hear back from them if it's positive. They only contact you. Sorry, if it's negative, you don't hear from them. You only get told if it's positive. And then I'm not sure what the next steps are. I think they like move you out to a hospital or something.
Wow. So it's a big process. Like,
oh yeah, it's very involved.
So you've been speaking to your family quite a bit since you come back, obviously, which is good. How did you handle being away, like from your family over in the US?
It was similar to other trips I've taken before, which is during the day when we're training and we're busy, and a lot of people to hang out with in Cookville. There's a bit of a family and a bit of a crew down there. The time just goes by pretty easy. It's at night. You go on the FaceTime before bed, and like it was back home was about 10 or 11 a.m. And that's when it's a bit emotional, and trying to like say hi. And my boys got a real kick out of whenever I'd show them the window and it was nighttime. Like it's daytime where they are, it's nighttime where I am. They really enjoyed that. So yeah, the trip went pretty quick. I remember thinking, like, as we were getting to Madison for the games, I was like, yeah, wow, we're already like about to hit the games and it's home time. So the very start of the trip, when I was first flying over, that was probably the hardest, where I was thinking to myself, have I done the right thing here? Should I have left? Should I have just skipped this year and stayed home? So that was tough, but that was a bit of extra motivation to make the most of the trip and actually make it worth the time.
So speaking of the CrossFit Games, so obviously you finished in 16th, I believe. 16th?
Yes.
Yeah. So event 1, however, you finished in 36th, which is like even Patrick Vellner, so you had a big hole to dig. You and Pat Vellner was like, dig, getting out of the hole. What happened?
It's just not a strong event. Like with that way the event played out, pretty much whatever you came out of the swim is what you finished the workout. The kayak there's almost no movement. For starters, no one's particularly good at it, so it's hard to like. It's so funny because I've seen some clips since then of the kayaking at the Olympics, and my goodness, like it's like watching someone try to snatch for the first time versus a weightlifter. Like it's a disgrace what we were doing. But at the same time, we were also on like ocean kayaks, like the kind of thing you would like rent out at the beach and like go out for a bit of play. Like they weren't speed kayaks; they were very very flat and wide, super. Like they can't really go fast. You could kind of just cruise and go at medium speed, or you could work really really hard and go at medium speed. So pretty much where you finish the swim is where you finished. And a mile swim isn't that bad. Like we were doing lots of swimming with Richard and the Mayhem crew at this like lake they have access to. One of the members of the gym lives in this private lake, and we would open up every session like from cold. We would go for like a 1 to 1.5k swim, like just straight up. So the distance wasn't like I'm comfortable at virtually any distance. It's just I'm not fast. And like I was joking with Sam that like if they told us to swim across the lake, like a 3-mile swim, I would have been swimming at the same speed I swam the 1 mile. So it's just that like getting fast at swimming is a weakness. Like my technique has slowly improved. It's getting to the point now where I can swim a mile and like not blow up. And now kind of the focus for this next year will be like refining the little mistakes I make. And like, for example, one of my friends who's a swim coach, she was saying that my legs split too much when I'm breathing. So I kick, and so that's drag. Right, so that's slowing you down. Like so that's like a speed issue, not really a fatigue issue. So just getting faster at swimming is the next goal now. My focus for so long was building up to something like can I swim a mile without having to like dog paddle and freak out.
That would be me.
And so so I mean a lot of people, a mile is pretty scary. So we're at that point now. I can do that pretty comfortably. Now it's time to get faster.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, like you said, you're going to be fixing stuff up. So the plan is to come back next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome, cool. That'd be exciting. I'm glad that you said that because I think that this year definitely showcased that you still have the ability to get better, and finishing in the top 20, especially after all the cuts and stuff, definitely shows that. And you had some top finishes. So I think you had a 4th place and a 2nd place finish as well. So, I mean, that goes to show that you're like deservedly should be up there. And I think that, it would be a disappointment if like, especially for us fans and stuff, to see you like leave the sport now after, obviously not being able to compete during COVID on the team version, but then coming back as an individual. So that'd be pretty cool to see you coming back, which would be awesome.
It was definitely a big confidence boost this year, for sure.
Yes, definitely. So talking about confidence booster, walk me through the snatch event. So this, oh my God, I was just like, this is so good. And I just remember, so I was at the 2017 CrossFit Games, and I remember watching Guim snatch 278 or something back then. And that was the same weight that Fraser did, and he won that event, right, at the CrossFit Games that year. And I was just like, this kid is insane. And then when that snatch event came up, I was just like, yeah, that kid, he just has perfect technique. He reminds me of our son. Like our son used to do CrossFit and ollie lifting. And like when he was 14, he was snatching 80 kilos like it was nothing. And I was just like, but they snatch so narrow too. And they sit like straight up and down. And we're like these like bloody hands as wide as possible trying to get everything. So tell me about that event.
He's that's the cool thing about Gammy's technique. You can see is how narrow his arms are, which the closer your arms are, the easier to pull. Like the weight comes off the ground a lot easier. But his mobility is just so fantastic, and I've seen the slow-mo of that lift, and his arms don't bend early. Like it's a perfect extension, and he just slips under it. And that's what it is, right? Like you can't especially on the snatch, you can't out muscle that technique. Like if someone get in a better position than you, it's history of 5. We felt like what my 285 felt like earlier. Like it's just the ease at which you can move the weight. So that event was cool. Like when it was first announced, I was like, okay, I need to make these cuts so I can get to that snatch event. And then when they announced it's going to be exactly like the clean from 2019, it was both exciting and terrifying because like it's a long time between lifts. It's like being at a weightlifting meet. Like
Have you ever done one?
anyone who doesn't know, yeah, I've done quite a few. I've lifted at Asta. I've won a gold at state champs for the
Oh,
Queensland for 105, and
yeah.
I've lifted at nationals. So
Oh,
I'm aware of that pressure, which is I think all the CrossFitters need to should put themselves in that position, because it's a different game when you can't lift as often as you want, or you can't choose the weight you want, or you can't like you're being on someone else's schedule, right? It's not your own schedule. Like, I'll lift when I feel like it. It's like, no, you have to sit there and just wait for like 3 minutes while they do a tiebreaker, and while the next guy goes and whatever, and then you have to walk up to the bar and you have to like nod to Boz, who gives you who like starts the clock for you and stuff. Like, you can't just do a few of the guys were trying to do like their own setup and then like run to the bar, and Boz would like stop them and be like, no, you have to wait. And so it kind of got in their head, and like it's really high pressure. And for the clean in 19, that's like, I think that's okay, because the cleans are like, there's a bit more margin for error. But the snatch was like, oh no, like this is a long time between lifts. Like, so I was mostly, for most of the event, I was just nervous that I might screw up and make a mistake, rather than I could miss the weight. And then so when it got down to it was just me, Pat, and Gui, it was like, okay, this is like, pressure's off now. It's a top 3 finish no matter what. And I was relatively confident I could out snatch Pat. And then Guy was looking so strong and so solid. I kind of knew in my heart that he was going to win it, but my theory was, look, just put your best foot forward. Like, if you can maximize your lift, he might make a mistake. Like, he might just screw up. Simple as that. And then you've got the win. So you got to, I was Stephen Bradbury, so you got to be in it to win it, right? So I was pretty stoked to hit the 300. Like, that's a pretty cool benchmark, and hitting it like in that kind of high pressure environment, the 12th event we've done over 3 days, in front of a big crowd, it was pretty fantastic.
So what I was more impressed was the fact that when you got to the 305 bar and you got it over your head 3 times, most people wouldn't even be able to get off the bloody ground. Like, and you're like, get it under the snatch 3 times in what, a 30-second window? I was like, damn.
Yeah, attempt 1 was like, I don't know, the funny thing about the snatch is, like, it's not really the weight increase per se. Like, 5 pounds up doesn't really feel that different, but it's just the timing of it. Like, if it's just a millisecond slower than the 300, you miss that window. So the first attempt kind of like got me a bit shocked. Like, okay, it's gotten much harder. And then attempt 2, I thought, okay, put some effort into this. You got this. It was closer, but it was just that 1% off. Like I said, like, just either it was a tiny bit too slow from the floor, or I was a tiny bit too slow under it, or something was it was a straw that broke the camel's back. Like, it was just not quite all there. And the third attempt was purely because, like, after I felt the second one, I realized, okay, like Gui's going to hit this weight, like, he's going to get it. And so I was like, I looked at the clock and it had about 5 seconds. I thought, crap, just try. Like, why not? Like, if you don't try, it's over. And so, miracles might happen. You might just find the strength all of a sudden. And it was also a decent attempt, but like I said, it was just too many. It wasn't enough of, like, 1% of everything was missing. Like, needed to be a little bit tighter with my back, keep the bar like a tiny bit closer, extend a little bit faster, get under it a bit faster. I just didn't quite have it anymore. Like, whether it was fatigue, tiredness, whatever. So, but the consolation was that even if I hit the 305, Guy hit it so easy, and then 310 would have been an actual miracle for me. And I feel like he would have gone to like 325, 330 probably at least he had in me.
Yeah, but his PB is only registered as 309.
Yeah, mine's 308. So, but and I think fresh, I definitely could have hit 315. But I think he was in the moment. I just once again come down to the technique. Like, I'm sure he was just as tired and fatigued as I was. We've done the same events, but his technique was so much more solid that it wasn't. I don't believe it was costing him as much effort. So I think he probably could have PB'd on that platform in that situation, whereas I was pretty much maxing out my abilities there.
Whilst you guys were waiting in between, like, lifts and stuff, it was interesting to see, like, you're sitting there and you're super focused, and obviously you're thinking about what you got to do next, and he's just like full hyping up the crowd, walking around. At any stage were you just like in your head, just bloody calm down, mate, come sit down?
Nah, I thought it was a good like, I thought it was cool. Like, it was getting me a little bit fired up too. Like, his confidence and like enthusiasm was infectious, and that's I think that's the difference. I think it's a great metaphor for the youth. Young bull, young calf versus the old bull. Like, I don't consider myself old per se, but I am 30, and he's like what, 22. And I
Yeah.
think that is the difference, right? Is that he was fired up and it was his event. And I'm just trying to stay calm, and he was jumping around like, walking between seats, and I was sitting down because, if I kept my knees bent, they were starting to ache. You know what I mean? I was like trying to like rest my knees, like I'm old and beaten up, and he's young and full of fire. So I loved it. I thought like I'm doing what I need to do to like get myself composed, and he's doing what he needs to do to get himself amped up. And I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a nice little comparison for everyone to see. Different personalities and different body types and different strengths.
Oh yeah, and it's so cool. Like, I love with the Olympic lifts, like you don't have to be the biggest dude in the room to do the snatch or the clean. Like, it literally comes down to technique. If your technique is impeccable, you are like up there. So it's just really cool to see the difference. So
yeah, he won the heavier clean
yeah, the
as
run and
well. So
clean.
he put that 350 clean away like that was no big deal. So yeah, he's super powerful, super fast, and great at all the weightlifting. Like, it wouldn't matter if it was a clean or a snatch for event 12. I think he had it in the bag.
Yes, definitely. How many COVID tests did they put the athletes through?
We just did the one when we arrived, and that was it. And if you wanted additional ones, or if you got sick, like, so Sam, my roommate and fellow Mayhem athlete, and this happened to a lot of people actually. I think it's probably the lake. Like, everyone, like the locals in Madison don't swim in that lake ever. He was sick on Thursday, and on the rest day that night, he was throwing up like every hour on the hour. He got up so on the Friday, he was like, hadn't slept a wink, completely dehydrated, malnourished, couldn't keep food down. He was wiped out. So that kind of screwed him. And he ultimately didn't make the top 20 cut because he had a terrible Friday.
Yeah.
And he definitely would have made top 20 if not for that. Like, I trained with him for like the last month before the games. Like, I know what he can do. So that was a bummer, but that's life. So when he went into medical, basically it was like half dead. They gave him COVID tests. They always check that first, obviously. But apart from Danielle Brandon, because she had exposure, that poor girl had to have a test every day and before every event in the Coliseum. If there was 2 events in a row in the Coliseum, should have to have 2 tests, one before the first event and then again before the second event.
Oh, that sounds over the top. Like, seriously.
It really was. It was way over the top, and that's why, like, after a day or two, like, that's why, like, some of the female athletes were like, nah, this is full crap, and they were like volunteering to run the sprint with her heat. And after one of the events, a handstand walk, I think this was like nearly at the end of the games. Like, at that point, we're like, screw it. Even if we have COVID by now, it's too late for it to affect our performance. So, like, after she finished one of the events, Tia like went over and like hugged her and like pulled her over and brought her to the rest of the athletes and was like, nah, come sit with us, like, screw this. So like, I get it, like, the games have to do like this. I said to Sam when we were first arriving, after we got our tests back negative and we'd heard that some athletes had failed the test, I was like, there should be like a waiver we can sign to be like, hey, as athletes, we accept the risk of COVID and we'll still participate. Like, we agree to participate even if someone else is positive. Like, we'll just all go in together on this.
Yeah.
And then as far as the public health issue, the athletes just need to be kept away from the crowds, and then it won't be a spreader event or whatever.
But the
But
crowd,
if we make a little bubble,
spread it anyways. Not like it's not the
exactly. But I mean, oh yeah, 100%. But that's what I mean. Like, if that was a concern, like, from that angle of, hey, public health, okay, we'll keep the crowd and us separate. But like, I would prefer, honestly, I personally would opt in to competing against people who have COVID. I don't care. Versus like this weird kind of like
segregation.
If you test positive once, you're out, and that's it. Like, like just the anxiety for Danielle having to like worry that every day the test could come back positive, even though she feels totally fine and can go and crush it, and just have to pull out. Like Bethany and Carrie. Like, I didn't talk to them personally, but I doubt they were laid up in bed like paralyzed. They probably felt pretty good and couldn't compete because the test said no. Like that. I feel like as athletes, we should have been given the option to like opt out of all that crap and just said, hey, we'll compete no matter what.
Oh, one thing on obviously next year and stuff. So Ricky Garard will be back in competition after his 4-year suspension. What are your thoughts on Ricky coming back?
Like I don't really care. Like as far as like it won't affect my decision to compete. It won't, and I'm not going to begrudge the guy or like yeah. When I say I don't really care, as in like it's actually not that big a deal ultimately. Like whatever. If he comes back and he's good enough to qualify, you know, if he is clean, then good on him.
Well, he just got tested.
But yeah, he just got tested. So like he's as clean as anyone, I guess you could say. Like anyone, there are plenty of people in history who pass drug tests who aren't clean. So he's no less clean than anyone else who passes the drug test.
Did you when you're at the games this year? Did you get drug tested?
Not at the games, not this year, not myself. We got drug tested. All of us who qualified for the games got drug tested at the pro.
Yep.
And that was it for me this season. So I haven't been tested at the games.
Yeah. Okay.
But CrossFit has said before, like openly, they don't do random drug testing. They do targeted drug testing. So someone like Ricky will for sure be pulled up for tests on purpose. Like it's
absolutely.
not because they say like the random drug testing doesn't in any sport doesn't really catch anyone. It's you follow tips and credible leads and target people with drug testing who are suspicious. So
yeah,
certain people always get scrutinized. Like someone like Rich, for example, gets drug tested like 2 or 3 times over the weekend for sure. Like he's famous.
I don't know why he gets tested so much. Like he's proven to be the best because he works hard and he's never had a positive test. Like why would you keep testing him? Like why waste money on someone like that? So
I think combination of because he's high profile, they want to seem like they test like the best people, and probably because honestly, like it is a bit shocking how old. And I say that tongue in cheek because talking about sport age versus actual age, but how someone like Rich, who is getting on in years, and not just like he's in his early 30s now, which is old for sport. But also the fact that his training age has been going, like at an elite level, like podiuming at the games in one form or the other for 10 straight years. How can someone be so good and keep getting better and not get injured and not fall off? So I think that's also a thing, like you just in general, like in weightlifting, for example, I know that when someone gets injured and they have like a season off to fix their injury, they get tested the most because they know that's when lifters are most tempted to get on the gear. Because you get back from the injury faster, B, you want to catch up the progress you've lost, C, you think that no one's looking at you, so you might be able to get away with it. Yeah. So I think, someone in Rich's position who's still winning, still crushing, but getting old and like, quote unquote, should be fading is probably like a pretty rich drug target to be like, okay, is this guy still legit or is he trying to, hang on to glory in an artificial way? Yeah. But yeah, obviously, like, the funny thing is like, I lived with the guy for a month before the games, and there was always people around the Mayhem camp. Like it's even if Rich ever wanted to, which he's just not that kind of person. Like he has too much integrity. Even if he wanted to dope, he just couldn't physically get away with it without someone seeing it. Like the story would spill. Like he's the most transparent athlete there is, who lets people stay with him for extended periods of time and train with him and do everything he's doing and be around him 24/7 basically. Like very few other athletes allow access to anyone at that level. So yeah, he's kind of above reproach in my opinion.
Yeah. So do you reckon that, like, and obviously with Ricky coming back and stuff, do you think that he will be one of those athletes who's going to get tested all the time? Like, in my opinion, I think he definitely will be.
Yeah, he absolutely will, and he absolutely should. Like that's the thing, right? Like you don't deserve what's the word? You don't deserve the trust,
you have to rebuild the trust.
Yes. Benefit of the doubt, that's what it is. You don't deserve the benefit of the doubt because you are a cheater. You have cheated, and it wasn't a mistake. Like he doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. He should be treated like somebody who can't be trusted because guess what? You have already broken the trust. Like you abused the trust and essentially tried to steal money from people by taking the prize money you didn't deserve. So like I said, if he's clean, he's just as good as any other competitor and he qualifies, like obviously the person who's in fourth probably would and should feel a little bit robbed because even though he might be clean now, you don't just lose the benefits of the drugs you've taken. Like, he didn't stop training. He never missed a beat, basically. So he's artificially accelerated his, career performance by however long you can calculate those drugs to have added. And so there is that kind of there'll always be that little bit of asterisk, and that's what it is. Like, he deserves that. Like, there are consequences for your actions, and like you said, there'll be people who love that, who and anyone who's a fan of Ricky either knows him personally, and I get that, like loyalty to a friend, or they're one of the people who think they were all on drugs, and so to them it's like, whatever, he was just a guy who got caught. The rest of them are just as dirty. And fine, those people kind of all, they're all of a similar ilk, those people, and I don't spare much thought for them. But I think most people will dislike him and not ever really respect his finish. And he kind of deserves that. He deserves to have his legacy marred. Like, if he does really well at the games, it'll always be like that. Yeah, but. And that's just the price you pay, my friend. Like, you don't, in this life, there are consequences for your actions. And sport is a privilege, not a right. It's not something you like. We don't all deserve it equally. Like, you have to earn it. And if you cheat and abuse that right, that privilege, it's not owed to you. So, in my opinion, it should be a lifetime ban for that kind of thing. And the temporary bans should be reserved for athletes who genuinely screwed up.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he did. I think he screwed up by getting caught, which is very different.
Yeah, okay. So in saying that, do you think that, say, if he tests negative for, say, 3 years in a row, like, and proves himself, would you ever change your opinion on, like, or give him a second chance or anything like that? Or do you think that everyone should, I don't know, see him as this bad person forever?
I don't think anyone should see him as a bad person. I think who he is as a person is very different from like some choices. So to use that metaphor of the mistake, I think what people refer to there is his judgment wasn't the best because he was young and dumb and I say
20.
Question his intelligence. I mean, sorry, more like young and ignorant, I guess, and not really thinking ahead of what would happen or could happen if he got caught and so on and so forth. So I think like I wouldn't be mean to his face, for example, and I wouldn't. I don't want him to. So he's done his time. At the end of the day, whether I think it should be a 4-year ban or a lifetime ban, he has completed relatively gracefully. There's been a few incidents, but I think that's just like that is where those Garard boys come from. That's the culture, and so I think he meant anything by it. That video where he was calling out Matt Fraser with derogatory language, I don't believe that was meant the way everyone took it. But he has relatively gracefully done his punishment, and which is what he was told to do. Like, they didn't say do 5 years, they didn't say do 10 years, they said do 4. He's done his 4. He's tested clean. He's coming back. So from that perspective, I would treat him like any other equal. And if I come fourth at the pro and he comes third and takes my spot, that is what it is. I'm not going to be a sore loser about it. Fair enough, and I won't hold that against him at all. I'm just talking philosophically. I think like a situation like that should be a lifetime ban, but in actual practical terms of the fact that the reality is he is coming back next year. No, I don't hold it against him. I don't think he's a bad person per se. I think he did something wrong, but everyone has moments of lack of judgment, and the fact is he does get a second chance. And so it's not my job or responsibility, or I'm not in the position to take that away or give it to him. Like, that's Dave Castro and the CrossFit Games team make that call, and that's the call they've made. And I respect them enough to respect their decision that he gets second chance, and I have no compunctions about competing against him and rubbing shoulders with him at Victorian Pro.
But that just shows your maturity and your level of like where you are at as a person, like, because there'll definitely be athletes who'll be like, nah, I don't ever want to even look at his face again. Like, there's going to be people, and obviously, that's their difference in maturity and their difference in levels and stuff like that, and understanding of it all, I guess, and just goes to show that you're a lot higher in your maturity levels, being able to like look at it this way and stuff like that, and not feel that it's a negative, like the most negative thing. Like, yes, like obviously there are, like, you believe it should be a like lifetime ban or whatever and stuff like that, But I mean, it goes to show that where you're at as a person as well, which is really interesting to see and really good. Like he finishes this thing start of October, so that's like just over a month away. And then, you know, like Rogue Invitational is coming up, like whether or not he will try and go for that. And like I know that, so I actually do speak to Ricky every now and then because I've been on a couple of his camps and stuff. And like as a person, such a nice guy and super helpful, and just, and it's really hard because I didn't know him back then. I didn't know anything about him, and I don't have any ties with the sport. I'm not an athlete and I'm not a competitor and stuff, and so I don't have that connection, that emotional connection, I guess. So for me, it's like, you know, like the person who I've met and stuff going on when I went on his training camps, is so different to some of the opinions of some people on that. But like I said, I'm not a competitor and I haven't been directly affected by it all. So I'm like this outsider kind of person. It's interesting to see, like, talk to people who are his friends, for example, and how much they love and adore him. And you can see that by the way that he treats them, because he puts them so high on his priority list. And then obviously, then like with his taking banned substances to go to the CrossFit Games, it also showed that, like, you know, where were his priority list when he, you know, he should have been reading into this kind of stuff back then. Like, yeah. So it's quite interesting to speak to people about this topic. So,
but I think you've summed it up pretty well there, which is like, it's like just so that his priorities put out of whack, right? Like he wanted to win more than he cared about it being fair, like, which is like I said, like it's, I feel like he shouldn't be mistreated for his decision. Even if you were someone who was affected, if you were the guy who came sixth that year, I think it was Luke McMahon actually, and you know, I'm not Luke, so I'm not going to tell Luke what to do. But like people, like I say, once again, that word mistake is a funny word. Like people make bad judgments all the time in life, and far worse things, like the person who gets in a drunk driving accident and kills someone still gets, like, it's very rarely jail for life. It's maybe a couple of years and they get to come out and have a second chance at life. So like Ricky didn't really do anything crazy bad, but to compare those two things, like, but it's true. Like, I mean, CJ once said, like, people treat drug cheats like they're like a child molester or something, like they want them to die. Like, you know, people commenting like terrible things, like go kill yourself and stuff. It's like, it's not, he's not that big a deal. He didn't really do, like, yeah, he tried to steal a lot of money from Pat Vellner becoming third or whatever, but like it like no one was physically hurt by his actions. So like that's what I mean. Like I don't hate the guy. I don't want to hate him, and I definitely don't want to like make him feel bad. Like when I see him in person, like I'm not going to be mean to him, and I'm happy to like be friendly to him, in fact, and treat him like any other competitor. It's more just like, as I said, like if I was in charge of reforming the sport philosophically, and I'm happy to be like proven wrong about this, but I would be of the mind of like maybe it should be lifetime bans for drug cheats like this, because it was a direct decision. It wasn't accidental. You can never be sure that there isn't a long term gain, like forever from the effects. But that's a completely separate, I guess, like feeling from how I treat the guy. Like the person, like, you know, hate the sin but don't hate the sinner kind of thing. Like I'm sure he's a nice guy, and like he deserves to be loved and you know, and held in high regard by his friends and family and stuff. Like, everyone deserves that. And as I said, like he has done his punishment now. So in theory, apart from, you know, potential, like as I said, can you ever be sure that you don't have a permanent performance increase from the drugs one time?
yeah,
he deserves to be treated like any other athlete coming into the sport brand new next year. Like he's done the punishment from the current powers that be of the sport that we all agree to play. Like there's lots of things I'd like to change for me personally or make the games better for me, but that's not the game we play, right? We have to do what we're told. And from that perspective, he's ticked the boxes. So I don't want to attack the guy or his character. Like I said, I can attack his decision and not respect it or what he did that year, and not have any sympathy for any excuse he might have.
which is fair enough.
But it's exactly, but it's the case. That's like once again the case of hate the sinner, not the sinner. Like he's done his time and hasn't personally hurt me. And even if it affected me personally in the sport, he still hasn't like attacked me or my loved ones or done anything like terrible. Like, he's not a bad person from that perspective. So I'm not going to hate the guy, and I wouldn't want anyone else to hate him either. And I'm gonna compete against him and treat him as well as I treat. I mean, there's plenty of athletes that I don't like just on a personality level, and I don't be mean to them. I just don't catch up for a beer with them after the event. So and that's the same with Ricky. Like, I'm not going to hate the guy, and in fact, I might even end up liking him when I chat to him more, and that's fine too. And at the same time, to be fair to Ricky, who the heck knows really how many of the athletes are actually on drugs when it comes to the Touring Pro weekend? Like one of the smartest things CrossFit did
look at
in 18 of the year I was there.
Well, look at Joel Munro. Like,
I was about to say, in 2018 they tested people who were further down the ladder, and they caught a bunch of people who didn't think they would get tested because they weren't going to come top 5. So that's the thing, right? So Ricky is low hanging fruit for people who want to vent the frustration of drug cheating, but for all we know, he's clean. And obviously, while the fact that he did dope once lends a little bit of shade on his character, there's really no reason to suspect him more than anyone else, because anyone could do it at any time. Anyone could decide, this is the year that I really want to make it, and I want to make sure I do by doing whatever it takes, kind of thing. So it's a bit unfair to just think Ricky's like the dodgy one at the Pro next year, when anyone could be in that basket. So I mean, if anything, hopefully Ricky's mistake, once again that word, Ricky's mistake,
Ricky's choice,
can help many people learn the same lesson. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully Ricky's learned that lesson, and hopefully people around him learn the lesson just by seeing what happens and being like, let's not go there. So I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna hate the guy. I don't hate him at all. And who he is in the sport is also different from who you are in real life too, of course. Like, people are compartmentalized in their life. So I'm sure he's a lovely guy, and I hope he is loved and got good friends around him, and generally happy.
Do you think it would have been a different reaction from people, say, if he had have came 10th that year at the CrossFit Games and hadn't been on the podium? Do you think that he would have got less scrutiny?
Unfortunately, I think you are correct that it would have been less of a big deal, but it shouldn't be.
No, that's exactly
it. Last of the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, it's like what I said with like Joel Munro. We never talk about Joel. Like, I know Joel Munro, he's a PDI in the Air Force as well, and like no one even batted an eyelid to him doing that, taking the exact same substance. Like, he was tested positive with the exact same substance. That no one even like blinked an eye, and it's just like, like it almost feels like as though he's got away with, like, I know he's not coming back to the sport and he's not going to compete again, which is obviously another reason why was never out in the open. But like, it almost feels like as if, he did get away a lot easier because he wasn't like a person well known in the sport. Like, he didn't cop the big amount of slack, and because he also didn't stand on a podium, and he also didn't rob someone of their third place finish. So
I mean, it's still a big crime to the person who would have finished in our region in 31st, who didn't get an invite to regionals. And like, even just this year, like when there was like 4 teams with someone who popped in each of the teams this year, and like no one even cares. But like, so I understand that. I mean, there is the theory of like, if I stole a pack of gum from the convenience store, that's not quite the same as you walking in and emptying the register of all the cash, right? Like, there's degrees to the crime, and cheating all the way up to the podium is a little different from just getting popped on the Friday at the regional. But that being said, it like I guess it's almost the reverse of that. Like, not that we should be witch hunting people further down the line more. It's almost like we probably shouldn't be as harsh on Ricky. And when I say that, I mean like he was given an official punishment, 4-year ban. What he doesn't also need is for people to go on his Instagram and be like, hey, go kill yourself, or someone to be like, if I see that guy, I'll punch him in the face. It's like no, the punishment fits the crime, and he's been given the punishment. Like, after the ban, he's as innocent as the rest of us until proven guilty again. That's how it should work.
Yeah, it's like someone was to commit a crime out in public. Like, say I don't know, when your son grows up and he's 18 and he, I don't know, steals something or whatever, and he goes to jail for 18 months or whatever. When he gets back out, like, he's classed as a normal human citizen. Like, I guess that's the thing. But people's minds don't work like that, unfortunately. So what's your first meal you're going to eat when you get out of isolation?
It's kind of a cheat because I've been getting some Uber Eats up here anyway, so I've kind of eaten. I had some GYG yesterday, and
Ooh,
I've
yeah.
been getting some coffee and stuff. So I'm not too depraved, or what's the word? I'm not making too much sacrifice when it comes to meal. But when I get out, it'll just be good to have a proper home cooked meal again, like having a full functioning kitchen, not living out of a suitcase, as I was saying earlier. And I am missing my espresso machine. I've been getting some like proper coffees from places, but I like the it's kind of like cathartic to like make the coffee on the machine, and like it's a nice little process. And I like I like making my own espresso at home, so I'm missing my coffee machine pretty bad.
You like watch Matt Fraser's videos of him making coffee, and then do you like go, oh, I can make a better espresso than you, Matt Fraser? Although I'm pretty
Well,
sure
I'll tell you what,
the machine is bloody sweet.
I was geeking out on that episode on his YouTube. It's probably one of the only videos I watch from his YouTube, actually, which is the like coffee tour. And I was like geeking out. I was like, oh, it's so good. I could almost smell it in the screens. That's pretty cool. And Rich does he only does pour over coffee. And so he fully taught me the ritual, and like it's pretty simple anyway. He does pour over at home. Well, no, it's not a hard thing to do, but it was pretty cool at Rich's house being able to like get up and like make your pour over coffee from scratch. It's like a little bit of it's a bit of a ritual. Like it's really nice to like spend 5-10 minutes doing something and then get to sit
Is that
down
like
and enjoy
percolated
the
coffee?
result.
I don't really know what pour over coffee is.
So pour over is like you grind the beans, you put the beans inside a filter paper, and you pour like the boiling water through the beans, and so it just like it's kind of like drip, but like fresh from the beans. So it's kind of like espresso without the pressure. It just kind of drips through. It's quite nice. It takes away. There's not much bitterness to it because it's not done with pressure. I still prefer espresso, but it's cool to like do it. Like, it's really nice. It'll like Rich has the full setup, so you got the thing on the scales, and you're weighing out exactly the right amount of water for how much coffee you put in. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. What's the first workout you're going to do when you get back to Torrent, or at your home gym maybe?
Actually, one I really want to do is I don't know if I do it the first workout, but the individual event 11, the AMRAP of pegboard, dumbbell overhead squat, and heavy rope.
Did you do that?
I really enjoyed that workout. Yeah, we did it, but I really enjoyed that workout. I think it's really cool. Like you could do that for 20 minutes. I reckon that kind of workout. It's like small bites of the movements. You could do it as like an EMOM. You could do it. Like, that was a really fun combination. I really enjoyed that workout. And as far as games workouts go, that's probably one of the cooler ones. That's like not super awful to do at home. Like a lot of games workouts like just crush people, but that one being an AMRAP, you can do it as slowly or as fast as you want. And they're pretty fun movements, those three. I liked playing with the heavy rope a bit, so fun workout. I can't wait to retest in the shed.
I've actually I did a workout the other day. It was a 20-minute AMRAP, 25 wall balls, 10-meter handstand walk. And anyway, I think I got like almost 7 rounds or something, because I'm slow at handstand walking. And then Todd was like, he's like, oh my God, I don't know if I'd want to do that workout. And I was like, yeah, because you'd end up with like 15 rounds or something, because you can sprint the handstand walk. So,
that sounds terrible. It's like 250, 300 wall balls. Ooh.
There you go. That's the workout you can do. 20-minute AMRAP, 25 wall balls, 10-meter handstand walk, and you have to let me know how you go.
Not bad. Yeah, that's not bad at all, actually.
I'll tell Toddy to do it, and then he can tell you how he went, and then you guys can see who wins.
That's good. That's a good one. I haven't done a wall ball for a while, actually. We didn't do any wall balls the game.
No, you didn't actually. So there you go. There's a nice solid workout for you. Just burn the whole body. Tax your shoulders before you go onto the handstand walk. Tax your shoulders again before you go onto the wall balls.
Got to stay unbroken on those wall balls after they'll do the mental test. 10 rounds in, still trying to stay unbroken.
Well, I was actually very impressed, because usually I'm just so weak at leg stuff. But I actually did unbroken for the first 2 rounds of wall balls, and then I stuck to like 20 and then finished with 5 on the last, like all the other rounds, which is good for me considering that I'm not very athletic or strong. I mean, I'm athletic, but I'm not strong. So yeah.
It was good to break it like this, have that little break before the handstand walk. That's pretty smart.
Yeah,
Get the
absolutely.
bulk out of the way, quick break, and then 5-second handstand walk
Oh
uninterrupted.
yeah, because I definitely need it because I can't stay upside down for like more than a couple of meters.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. Good way to work the weakness. That's a great workout, actually.
Yeah, I definitely want to come up to Brizzy once, if this COVID, like if the states ever stay open, like
Yeah,
we live like in the Vic side of the border here, so we're like back
yeah,
down again. Meanwhile, New South Wales is running wild, and the whole state's still open. Like it's insane, but
yeah. Well, I just heard Queensland's out of their lockdown today. I think at 4 p.m.
are they? Oh, aren't you guys lucky?
Yeah, so that's good.
Victoria.
Yeah, so well, I mean, I'm here, but good for the family. Like I was talking to Laurie and like the poor boys, like my 4-year-old and 2-year-old, they can't wait to go to the park, but they couldn't go to the park. Like they've just been walking up and down like our street because that's all you had to do. And
Oh,
so now the lockdown is at 4. They're going straight to the park at 4.
that's
That's
awesome.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, good for
I'm
the kids.
I'm personally glad I don't have kids during like I mean I do. I have one son, but he's 18 now. So he's like out of home and stuff like that. He lives up in Queensland. But like I'm so glad I don't have kids because I would probably go mental. My neighbor, they have like 3 little kids, like around the same age as your kids. And all I hear is those kids running up and down the hallway nonstop. I'm like trying to watch TV, and all I hear is like it's like a I don't know, a herd of cattle or rhinos going up and down the hallway just all day long. And this poor mum was like, settle down. And I'm just like, oh my God.
It'd be hard. I mean, we're pretty lucky. Like a 4 and a 2-year-old, it's not too crazy. If you had like a 10-year-old, like an 8-year-old or something, like I reckon it would get pretty like that's a hard age to keep entertained. So
Yeah,
in 4 walls, that
yeah.
blows my mind that you have an 18-year-old. How old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm 36.
Okay, yeah. I didn't think you were that old.
No. So I had him when I was like 17. I fell pregnant in high school. So like, I don't know, like I was still in school. So I was in year 11 and then I fell
Yep.
pregnant and then it was perfectly timed because on you know how like you finish year 11 then you have 6 weeks off over Christmas and stuff then you go back to school, so he was actually due during the 6 weeks and I went to school in the NT and we didn't wear a uniform, so I kind of like just wore baggy clothes, so no one even really knew I was pregnant. And then I came back to school for year 12 with a brand new baby and took him to school with me for the first 6 months to finish school. So I like finished year 12 and I worked a job at the same time. I used to take him to work behind the reception with me. And yeah, so I think that's
Wow.
when I tell people, they're like, Jesus, how did you do that? And I was like,
That is very impressive.
yeah.
You should tell
So
that story. You need to tell that story fully one day. That'll be a very
I will.
inspiring story, I think.
I'm actually thinking about one day writing a book because like I was talking to Todd about it. My life has been hectic. Like I came from a very kind of abusive like family and stuff, and my brother is a drug addict and spent 90% of his life in jail. And yeah, like and then like having a kid so young, and like I've owned an affiliate, I've been in the military, like I've done a lot in my short little life. And I think
Yeah.
when I tell people, they're just like mind blown that I've done like so much stuff, and how like especially when I tell people that I took my kid to school, like they're just like they look at their kids who are in year 12 who are struggling and they've just got themselves to worry about, and I had to like do year 12 with a newborn baby and work a job at the same time, and it was just like but in saying
Yeah, that is.
in saying that, but however, having a kid so young, very different. If I was to have a kid now, I reckon that I would be like, I would feel stressed and I would feel panicked. But when you're so young, like you honestly do not think about like the stress or anything. You also don't need any sleep. So that didn't
Yeah.
phase me at all. Like nothing worries you. You're like, you're used to not having any money. So that doesn't worry you either. Like you just kind of make do. And the hardest part, to be honest, was literally just like trying to not want to go out. Like I had to I mean, I'll be honest, like there was times where I was a really shitty parent and I would go out way too much and get babysitters, but I was so young, like, and like I look back now and I'm like, oh, if I had a kid now, it'd be so different. But back then, nothing like affected me at all. Like, and when my friends are all having kids now and they're like telling me how hard it is, and they're like, how did you not find it hard? And I was like, I just think that when you're young, like you just roll with the punches, like you don't even notice what's going on.
There's
So
probably something really profound and deep in that, of like what really freaks parents out these days, and like is it all just in our heads? Like it's all just like this weird impression of a good parent we're trying to be, but like your story proves that like there's nothing. What are you worried about? Like just it's relatively cruisy as far as when you take away expectations of what something should be.
Yeah.
What's left is just it's actually a pretty good time, like
Yeah.
that's honestly that's really that's super humbling to hear that. Like that really feels like I'm so impressed with that. Like modern day culture is so much like if that was to happen to you, your life is over. And like
that's what I
now,
didn't
as you
do.
say, like
I didn't want to be a stereotype. I literally remember falling pregnant and everyone was like, oh, you're going to have to leave school. And I was like, and they're like, you have to go on Centrelink and Dole. It's like, I don't want to be one of those numbers. I don't want to be a statistic. I want to be the person who actually succeeds in life and shows that it can be done. And I did it. So
yeah. And then a lot of people now obviously take a different option as far as unplanned pregnancies, which I always think is like super sad. Like what's your relationship with your son?
Oh, we're good. He's so he lives up in Queensland with his dad. Well, his dad doesn't really live there very much, so he just stays with his dad's family. And good, we just chat all the time. But we're not like, I wouldn't say that we have like a parenting kind of relationship. It's more like we're mates and we just chat all the time, just like more like mates kind of thing. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is I look at my friends who've had kids and stuff. And then also because I grew up like with a really kind of like a shitty upbringing and stuff. So I had no maternal kind of things and I don't like being touched either. So then he would like be super cuddly to me and I would freak out. And that's because I hadn't matured through what happened to me when I was younger. So then that really affected me in that way. But he's like we're good. Like we chat all the time and message each other and he calls me on video chat and stuff, and phenomenal CrossFit athlete. I wish he would keep doing it. Like I said, like he just is naturally gifted. And when we had our affiliate, he just would come and train. But then as soon as to be honest, teenage years suck. So be prepared for that. Like they just become, they become psychos. So, but no, like we're fine. Like it's, good. And on his 18th, we went out partying together and stuff. Like it's nice to be young enough to still be able to do that stuff. So, and like we'll
and I was about to say, and now you've like while society might have said that like your life is over if you get pregnant so early, now you're like super young still, 36, and like your kid's moved out, he's 18. It's like everyone else your age is like sitting there with a 4-year-old, they can't go anywhere, can't travel, whatever, and you're like suckers. Like one of the mums at our gym, she's the same, she had kids like pretty early, and like her kids are now babysitting her friends' kids. Like it's like it sucks to be you. Like you put off having kids for your I don't mean that. That sounds really mean. More tongue in cheek, like people who put off their kids because they're like for their career or whatever. When almost if you like go in early, now you're like still young and like got your whole career ahead of you, and the kids thing is done. So like no judgment, obviously everyone has different priorities and stuff, but that's a really cool story. I think most people like would not think you can pull that off like so well. No. I think most people like like I said, it's just the culture, I guess, that like if you were to be you kind of just society would say if you're in that situation, you're kind of screwed. But that's really cool, man. That's awesome. That's really I really like that.
Yeah, I think like the shock when I tell people, they're just like, wow, like it blows people's mind that like. And when I told Todd, I was like, oh yeah, I had a kid when I was this age, and finished school, and then I joined the military, and then like I owned an affiliate for 6 years, and then I finished a uni degree, and now I'm a teacher. And he's just like, your life is so colorful and creative and stuff. And he's like, and I was like, yeah. And then like in like 10 years time, I'll probably literally stop being a teacher and probably, I don't know, do something like be a cop or something. Like I like to have different stuff. And I think that's what does me with this whole YouTube thing. I'm like, okay, so now I'm a teacher and this is where I'm at now, but where do I want to be in like 5 years time? Like I love traveling and I want to do stuff, and I just froth CrossFit. So I'm like, okay, now that you finish your degree, let's do this next and let's build on this. And I think that I have the potential to be able to do it. And obviously I have the mindset, and I've proven that I've been able to do heaps of stuff with my life. So this is probably the next thing that I'll do.
Definitely. Oh, that's so good. That's awesome. I'm relatively normal as far as like my story is not super out there or anything, but like I'm just a weirdo when it comes to feelings. I always find it really hard to express feelings properly, and I think a lot of people are like that, where they love to hear about it, but themselves are like too scared to like talk about that stuff. So I think like a lot of that stuff really like helps people unlock like the things that they are too scared to say because of what people will think of them or whatever, So
I think I used to be like that.
Cool.
Yeah, I used to be very much like, I don't want to tell anyone, because I didn't want anyone to think about me being different or see me different, especially like if I was to like expose like what happened when I was younger and stuff like that. And I don't want anyone to go, oh, I feel sorry for her, or like, but I want them to not feel sorry, because at the end of the day, like it made me a better person. So
yeah, I think just from my perspective, like I think it's cool to hear those stories, because like even if your story isn't as bad, like it's cool to see someone who's brave enough to like talk about, like everyone wants to be that kind of person who can talk about their feelings well. I imagine, like I think everyone wants to be like that, but very few people are like brave enough to do it. So I think like when someone with a really cool story like talks about it, it's almost like, oh well, then my story isn't that bad, so I should have talked about it, right? So like I think it's good for like unlocking that in people, because I think we all like wish we were like, everyone wants to be the person who can walk into a room and like everyone like listens to them, you know what I mean? Like, so, but not everyone, but most people like can't handle it when everyone's looking at them in this weird way. You know what I mean? Like, everyone wants to be the center of attention kind of thing, but everyone kind of secretly doesn't want anyone to know they exist.
Yeah.
Bit of a weird, like, at least that's my experience. And I think a lot of people relate to that, but
this, like I said, this is the first time I've really publicly spoken about any of this kind of stuff. But I have said that I should probably do it, and because I think it would help other people a lot. So.
Oh yeah, I think I'm super like humbled. Yeah, screw the CrossFit Games. This is way more important.
Like, what's your life story?
Like seriously, I feel like this is all my life's boring in comparison. Like literally, if I imagine like if I was 17 with a kid, like I don't think I could have handled that. Like that's an incredible story. That's awesome. And just like just even I don't know. Like it's so, like I said, it's so counterculture. Like it's like just not being a victim and just like getting it done, and also like once again, no, I don't mean any judgment to anyone by this statement, but like not taking like the way out, if you will, like the A word, very controversial, but like I feel like so many abortions don't have to, speaking obviously from someone who's never been in the situation, so take it with a grain of salt, but so many of them don't have to happen because people act on what they assume it will be like, not based on what they truly want for their life. If someone could promise them, hey, it'll be all right, what would you do? I think that the answer to that question might be very different, but people just don't believe it'll be all right. And so I think like just having a story that kind of proves like, hey, like everything we think is normal, and like what's the word, like most of the things we think about life are just assumptions and based on like nothing but like weird expectations that we somehow internalize, and like you can do whatever the heck you want with your life, and like 10 years, 20 years later, no one would even know unless you told them.
That's exactly
But at the time, we think this is going to define us forever, when really it like doesn't at all. So I think that's incredible.
Thanks.
Seriously. Oh yeah, that's so cool. Thank you.
No, that's fine. So maybe you'll started a trend, like I'll start talking about it more.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
I would, like, the first few times, especially like about what happened when I was little, like I would struggle, but I think after that, like once I got used to like talking about that stuff, I think it would be a lot different than that. But yeah, like I said, I think I have actually thought about sharing it a lot more, because I think it could be a benefit to someone else. So
I think 100% it will be. Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you chatting to me and stuff, and yeah, let me get to know you a little bit, and obviously you getting to know me a little bit more. And like I said, like I'm really trying to build this channel because I want a female presence in the CrossFit media YouTube space, and like I seem to get along really well with the athletes and stuff, and find it really easy to talk to everyone. So, and obviously I just like love CrossFit, so for me it's like perfect thing to do. So yeah,
the perfect combination.
Absolutely. And like, and I love like hearing about people's stories and how they come, and like, and then obviously like in this situation you've just learned something about me. Well, actually everyone who watches this YouTube clip is actually going to learn something about me. So and I think it'll be very interesting to see like where this goes in another year or so, like, and how much I can build it. And especially like at the moment, like everyone who is in the YouTube space, they really focus on the athletes overseas, and I just feel like we need to really push our own people. And like that's why I like try to like chat to all the Aussies and stuff, because I think that we have a lot of up and coming talent in Australia, and we don't get recognized enough for it yet. And I think that the vloggers who are out there, like, yeah, everyone talks about Ricky because everyone, he's like so well known, not for the right reason, but like what about like people like Jay Crouch and stuff like that, or like Laura Clifton, like she is phenomenal, amazing, or like Caitlin Van Ziel and Johan, their whole team took all their kids to the CrossFit Games. Like that just blows my mind. Like,
and they're two married couples. That's pretty cool.
Even
that's
better.
Really cool.
Yeah, I actually love watching those guys compete, especially Caitlin, and the way she bosses Johan around. You can definitely see who wins.
Yeah. Johan is like such a gentle giant. He's
yes, yeah, he is. Well, I mean, I've only met him. I met him at ACC because he was on their team before she hurt her ankle. So I chatted to him a couple of times then, but mainly she does the talking, so I didn't really get a chance to chat much. But they'll be in isolation as well together, so I'm hoping that I can get like them all onto like a vlog and do a chat with them as well, because I think that their story is amazing, and I really would love to hear more about it as well. So I think everyone else would like to as well. So
I think so. Yeah, I think they definitely need a spotlight on them. Like for starters, it's just cool having like two couples. Like people talk about how it's hard to work with your spouse or be on a team with your spouse. They're two couples, like they're all spouses basically. And as you say, they're all. Caitlin's just come back, had two kids, and come back like beautifully.
And
that's always an impressive story. And an injury, and then Jaylee's got like I think two, maybe three. She's got two kids, so like it's incredible, like what they, especially the girls, having been the ones that actually give birth, what they've come back from in a really quick time, and then perform so well on the stage, on the world stage. Yeah, it's a pretty sick story actually. It's really cool.
Actually, speaking of that, did Rich and Matt say anything when they got beaten in the first, like that very first workout, the thruster one and the echo bike one? So that was the snatch that they lost, and Caitlin that beat them. Obviously, I understand like they got a lot of no reps. I'm not exactly sure. I think Chad wasn't. Was it Chad, the other guy? Chase wasn't locking out properly, so they got quite a few no reps, and that's what got them behind. But in saying that, like, did Rich say anything about that event?
I didn't catch up with the team after that event because they went back to the RV park and we went back to the hotel, so I didn't catch like the debrief. But and no reps are always part of it. Like, and basically, I think they didn't talk much about it because Chase felt like he let the team down, and they were all, and like Rich is really good for like never making anyone feel like they screwed. Like Rich would never publicly or even privately admit that Chase like lost the event for them. If you ask him about the event, he'd probably just say like, hey, you know, we wanted to win them all, but you can't win them all, and it just, you know, things just didn't go our way, and blah blah blah. Like he would never blame a single member for anything, but Chase really did feel like he screwed up, so he was pretty down the dumps. So the rest of the team probably wouldn't have said much to like didn't want to rub it in or anything. So I think they just kind of were like, hey, you know, we'll pick ourselves up and try again on the next event. Like no big deal. Like you even though it looked like for a second there that Mayhem were going to, you can't win them all. Like it's just I think that'll be the greatest, like the last great frontier of CrossFit, and like probably like the unicorn that'll never actually be possible, which is someone winning every event. Maybe in the age groups and stuff when someone's like just above the class, but like in the team and individual fields, I think winning every event is just a physical impossibility. Like there'll always be some specialist somewhere who's freaky at some event, and no one can be that. Like you can be really well-rounded, but to be that well-rounded and excellent is just, it's just not doable. Like it's the great, you know, the great pursuit, but like, so I think at the end of the day, Mayhem were like, the team was like, hey, like we won 6 in a row. Well, they got one of the wins taken away from a scoring or a timing chip issue or something. So they won 5 in a row, and then you know, you were bound to lose one eventually. So I don't think they were too bothered. Like they were pretty like, okay, you know.
I was pretty stoked that it was our Aussie team who beat them.
That was cool. That was really cool. I was like, oh my goodness, let's go, guys. And then like, so that, I mean, when Jaylee got in the bar for the last 10, I was like, oh, she looks tired. Like, come on, Jaylee. And she just like a machine, just pumped them out. Like it was so like just head down, get to work. Like it was really cool. Like it was very much like, I was like, that's like the real like demeanor and like spirit of like a mum. Like that's someone who's just like used to putting up with like can just suffer and like quietly just like take the heat, you know what I mean? I thought that's really just like that inner strength, you know.
Absolutely. All right,
that was cool. It was really cool.
I'll let you go do your, I don't know, whatever you got to do for the rest of the day. I don't know, have a nap. What are you watching?
Right now I'm catching up on all the YouTube channel, like all the CrossFit YouTube stuff, like Craig's channel, and there's a couple of Mayhem videos that I didn't get to watch. So just catching up on all the people I know and their handiwork. Pretty good. Like all the Mayhem videos, for example, I know the guy or the 2 guys, Scott and Ben, who get most of the footage, and like they got like 3 hours sleep a night over the games. They were up like for like 6 hours editing videos like after the fact. And they're just so good at what they do. And like, so it's kind of like, even though I was there, it's like watching like something that I wasn't there for, because it's so, the way they do it is so impressive. So having some fun watching those videos. Yeah,
nice. Well, I'll let you go to watch your YouTube and stuff. And once again, thanks for chatting to me, and we'll meet in person for sure once we can cross the border.
Definitely. Awesome.
All right, thanks, Royce. See ya.
Thanks, Matt. See ya.